my mistake. As soon as I boarded the train, my sister-in-law called, and her very first sentence destroyed the 3 years of marriage I thought were perfect. She didn't say hello. She didn't ask how he was doing. Instead, her voice buzzed through the speaker, cold and hurried. "Did you finally handle her? Or do I need to send the lawyer to kick her out myself?" The blood drained from my face as the train doors slid shut behind me, trapping me with a device full of secrets. Everyone on the morning commute thought I was just looking at a normal screen, but my entire life was unraveling in my hands. Before I tell you the twisted web I uncovered on that train ride, see how far this story travels. My name is Chloe, I'm 28 years old, and until that Tuesday morning, I genuinely believed I was living the modern fairy tale. I had a rewarding job as a marketing coordinator, a beautiful suburban home, and a husband, Julian, whom I loved with all my heart. But life has a strange way of altering your entire destiny in a single, chaotic second. That morning was an absolute whirlwind. My alarm failed to go off, leaving me with exactly 20 minutes to get dressed, pack my bag, and sprint out the door to catch my usual commuter train. In my absolute panic to avoid being late for a massive presentation at work, I swept my hand across the kitchen island, blindly snatching my keys and my phone. Julian and I had identical matte black smartphones, always kept in the exact same spot. I didn't think twice about it. I just shoved the device deep into my trench coat pocket and ran. It wasn't until I fought my way through the crowded subway station and stepped into the packed carriage that I finally had a moment to breathe. I pulled out the device to check the time, and my heart instantly stopped. The lock screen background wasn't a picture of our vacation puppy. It was a plain, dark factory wallpaper. Before the realization that I had grabbed Julian's phone could even fully settle in my brain, the device violently vibrated in my palm. The caller ID flashed with a name that always brought a chill to our household, Amanda, my sister-in-law. I stared at the vibrating screen, my thumb hovering over the green button as the train hurtled deeper into the dark tunnel. Amanda never called Julian this early unless it was an absolute emergency, or unless they were discussing something they wanted to hide from me. Taking a deep breath, I swiped to answer, but instead of greeting her, I kept the phone pressed silently against my ear. The ambient noise of the screeching train tracks filled the silence, perfectly masking my own breathing. Amanda didn't even wait for a response. Her voice boomed through the speaker, dripping with a sharp, impatient condescension that made my stomach turn instantly. "Did you finally handle her? Or do I need to send the lawyer to kick her out myself?" She paused for half a second, snorting with irritation when I didn't immediately answer. "Julian, are you listening to me? Mom and I are sick of waiting. You promised us that the paperwork would be served by yesterday afternoon. We need her out of that house before the end of the month, or the entire trust arrangement falls apart." The train tilted sharply into a curve, and I had to grab the overhead handrail to steady myself. My mind was reeling, struggling to piece together the venomous words echoing from the receiver. Paperwork? A trust? Julian and I had bought our suburban home together, or at least that's what he had told me when I transferred my entire life savings to him for the down payment. Amanda's voice grew louder, completely unaware that she was confessing her secrets to the wrong person. "Julian, answer me." Amanda snapped one last time before clicking off the call in a fit of rage. The line went dead, leaving me standing in the center of the swaying train car, surrounded by oblivious commuters. My hands were shaking so violently, I nearly dropped the phone. The beautiful life I thought I had built over the last 3 years was nothing more than a carefully constructed illusion. I looked down at the lock screen. To find out the truth, I needed to get inside. I tried our anniversary date. Nothing. I tried his mother's birthday. Incorrect. Finally, with a racing heart, I typed in the 4 digits of his childhood street address. The screen blinked and unlocked. I bypassed his photos and went straight to a secure, hidden messaging app tucked away in an obscure folder. What I found inside shattered my heart into a million pieces. It was a private group chat titled The Inner Circle, containing only Julian, Amanda, and their mother. I scrolled back through months of correspondence. The messages were a chilling, calculated blueprint of betrayal. They had systematically planned to drain my bank accounts under the guise of Julian's failing business ventures. In reality, there was no business. It was an elaborate scheme to use my hard-earned salary to clear Julian's massive personal credit card debts. But the ultimate betrayal was written in a text from Julian himself, sent just 3 weeks ago. "Don't worry, Mom. As soon as her next bonus hits our joint account, I'll file the papers." She thinks she owns half the house, but she has no idea it's completely locked away in the family trust. She'll leave with absolutely nothing. Reading those words felt like a physical blow to my chest, making it hard to draw in a full breath of air inside the stuffy train car. I kept scrolling, my eyes burning as I reviewed older messages that exposed the terrifying depth of their synthetic sympathy. For the past year, I had been pulling grueling 60-hour work weeks, completely exhausting myself just to keep our household afloat. Every single night, I would come home bone-tired, and Julian would wrap his arms around me, kissing my forehead and whispering how much he appreciated my sacrifices for his future. He would tell me that we were a team and that my dedication was the only thing keeping his dreams alive. It was all an absolute lie. The chat logs revealed that while I was skipping lunches to save money and crying myself to sleep from corporate stress, Julian was using my hard-earned income to fund lavish weekend getaways to 5-star resorts for his mother and sister. The contrast between his daily performance at home and the cold, mocking tone he used about me in the group chat was sickening. In one thread from last month, Amanda had sent a photo of an expensive designer handbag, texting, "Look what Julian bought me with the mouse's money." Julian had replied with a string of laughing emojis, typing, "She actually thinks I'm using her paycheck to pay off vendor invoices. She's so incredibly naive. It's almost sad. She just smiles and asks if I need more support." His mother joined in, reminding him to keep playing the part of the struggling, grateful husband until the legal paperwork was perfectly finalized. They had weaponized my love, my trust, and my empathy against me, turning my entire life into a cruel family joke. A cold, sharp clarity washed over me, replacing the devastating shock with a burning desire for justice. I looked around the crowded carriage, realizing that if I confronted Julian right now, he would immediately delete the evidence and hide behind his family's high-priced lawyers. I needed to be smarter than them. I needed to use their own arrogance to completely destroy their trap. Still riding the commuter train, I went to work. With steady fingers, I began systematically forwarding every single piece of incriminating evidence from Julian's phone directly to my secure personal email account. I exported the complete chat history of the inner circle, took screenshots of the bank transfers showing my stolen income funding their luxury trips, and copied the digital receipts for his secret credit card debts. I even found copies of the fraudulent business documents he had used to deceive me. Next, I opened my contacts and called Victoria Vance, a notoriously brilliant corporate and asset protection attorney from my own professional network. As the train finally pulled into my station, I rapidly explained the entire situation to her. Victoria listened quietly, and I could practically hear the sharp smile on her face through the receiver. "Chloe, they've made a fatal mistake," Victoria told me calmly. "In their absolute rush to lock you out of the house and scheme against your assets, they've committed blatant financial fraud and wire transfer violations. Because you transferred your personal savings into his account under false business pretenses, we can legally pierce that family trust. Do not say a single word to him. Go to work, act perfectly normal, and let me handle the rest." That evening, I walked into our house and placed Julian's phone back on the kitchen counter, exactly where I had found it that morning. When he asked why I hadn't answered his text messages during the day, I merely smiled, kissed his cheek, and lied smoothly, telling him that my phone had been buried deep inside my purse on silent during a grueling marathon of corporate meetings. He completely believed me, utterly oblivious to the fact that his entire dark world had already shifted beneath his feet. 3 days later, Julian eagerly organized a formal family dinner at our house, inviting his sister Amanda and his mother. He told me it was a special celebration for a new business contract, but I knew the terrifying truth. They were walking into our home intending to finally deliver their cruel, blindsiding separation papers and throw me out on the street. When they arrived, The atmosphere was thick with synthetic sympathy and repressed excitement. Amanda couldn't stop smirking, and his mother kept patting my hand with a look of fake pity that made my skin crawl. They sat around my dining table, eating the food I had bought, completely confident that they were about to destroy my life. But as I poured the wine, I felt a wave of absolute power. What they didn't know was that while they were busy preparing their ambush, Victoria had already filed our emergency motions, completely freezing the assets they intended to hide from me. As the main course was cleared, Julian cleared his throat, adjusting his watch with the casual arrogance I had once mistaken for confidence. He slid a thick, white envelope across the table, his face masked in a look of rehearsed regret. "Chloe, I'm so sorry," he said, his voice dripping with false sorrow. "But our marriage is over. This house belongs to my family trust, and you have 30 days to pack your things and leave." Amanda smirked, leaning back in her chair to watch me crumble. Instead of crying, I calmly pushed the envelope aside and pulled out my own folder of legal documents, laying them flat on the mahogany table. "I'm glad you brought your family, Julian," I said, my voice ice cold. "Because you're..." I watched the color completely drain from Amanda's face as I spread out the printed chat logs from the inner circle, alongside the bank statements proving systematic wire fraud and financial abuse. "My attorney, Victoria Vance, has already frozen your family trust," I announced smoothly. "Every dollar you stole from my salary to pay your gambling debts and luxury trips has been fully documented. If you don't sign these papers waiving all claims to my savings and giving me full restitution, these documents go straight to the district attorney. You won't just lose this house. Julian, you and Amanda will be looking at significant prison time." The silence in the room was deafening. They signed everything that very night. They didn't have a choice. Today, I am living comfortably in a beautiful new city, completely free of their toxicity, while Julian and his sister are buried under massive debt and legal penalties.